The Vorthak Maximum Security Detention Facility had never lost a prisoner in its 3,000-year history. Built into the heart of a neutron star's companion asteroid, it was considered the most impregnable prison in the known galaxy. The facility's warden, Kelthera, often boasted to visiting dignitaries about the impossibility of escape. Gravity wells, quantum locks, psi dampeners, and a maze of corridors that rearranged themselves every solar rotation. When the human was brought, Kelthera barely glanced at the manifest. Another primitive from the recently discovered Sol system, captured during their species' first fumbling attempts at faster-than-light travel. Humans were considered curiosities at best, bipedal mammals with laughably short lifespans and no apparent psychic abilities. The prisoner designation read simply, Marcus Chen, human male, charges unauthorized presence in galactic council space. Cell block Omega-7, Kelthera instructed her subordinate, a towering Krillian with 4 arms and crystalline skin. Standard containment protocols. The Krillian guard, Vextar, nodded and escorted the human through the labyrinthine facility. Marcus walked calmly, his brown eyes taking in every detail. The hexagonal corridor patterns, the humming energy barriers, the positioning of security sensors. He asked no questions, made no protests, simply observed with the quiet intensity that Vextar found unsettling. Cell Omega-7 was a standard maximum security unit, a cube of compressed dark matter walls, molecular level smooth and harder than diamond. The only opening was a force field barrier that required 3 separate biometric confirmations to deactivate. Inside, a basic atmospheric processor, waste disposal unit, and nutrient dispenser provided the minimum necessities for survival. Your accommodations, Vextar announced with dark amusement. The cell rotates through 17 different dimensional phases every hour. The walls exist in a quantum flux state. Even if you could somehow breach the force field, the corridor layout changes every 12 hours using algorithms that would take our best AI systems millennia to crack. Marcus nodded politely. When's breakfast? The question was so mundane, so unexpectedly normal that Vextar paused. Nutrient paste is dispensed at 800 standard galactic time. Thanks, Marcus replied, settling onto the metal bench that served as both bed and chair. See you then. That night, while the facility's skeleton crew monitored thousands of prisoners across multiple security levels, Marcus began his work. He started by examining the waste disposal unit, a matter transporter that broke down organic waste at the molecular level before shunting it to the facility's central processing core. The technology was impressive but had one crucial flaw. It relied on quantum entanglement markers to ensure complete breakdown of biological matter. Using techniques learned during his previous career as a quantum engineer for Earth's Colonial Survey Corps, Marcus carefully manipulated the disposal unit's resonance frequency. It took him 3 hours to create a microscopic quantum tunnel, not large enough for matter transport but sufficient for information transfer. Through this tunnel, Marcus accessed the facility's maintenance network. Vorthak security was designed to prevent brute force escapes, psychic infiltration, and technological bypasses. It was not designed to counter a maintenance diagnostic routine that appeared to originate from the facility's own systems. The next phase required patience. Over the following days, Marcus mapped the facility's security protocols by observing the timing of guard rotations, the cadence of system updates, and the subtle vibrations that traveled through the dark matter walls when the corridor configuration shifted. He noticed patterns that the Vorthak designers had missed, mathematical relationships that emerged from the intersection of multiple security systems. On his 5th night of imprisonment, Marcus made his move. He had identified a 17-minute window that occurred when 3 separate security cycles synchronized, a gap that happened only once every 847 hours due to the complex mathematical relationship between the rotation schedules. Using components cannibalized from the atmospheric processor and nutrient dispenser, Marcus constructed a crude but effective quantum resonance device. When activated during the synchronization window, it created a temporary coherence field that stabilized his cell's dimensional phase while simultaneously fooling the sensors into believing he was still present. The force field barrier, designed to keep prisoners in rather than intruders out, had a fatal vulnerability when approached from an unexpected angle. Marcus had realized that the biometric scanners were calibrated for the three species that comprised 97% of the facility's staff: Vorthak, Krillians, and the silicon-based Nexari. They had never been programmed to differentiate between a human life sign and the low-level quantum fluctuations of a maintenance diagnostic. At exactly 0347 hours, Marcus stepped through his own force field barrier. The corridor beyond was in its simplest configuration, a direct path to the main transport hub that would only exist for 43 minutes before the next maze rotation. Marcus moved quickly but carefully, avoiding sensor nodes by following maintenance conduit pathways that he had mapped through careful observation of thermal patterns visible in the metal walls. 18 minutes later, he stood in the transport bay, looking at a collection of short-range shuttles used for supply runs to the nearby space station. The quantum locks were impressive, but they operated on the same fundamental principles as Earth's early FTL drives, principles Marcus knew better than most. 6 minutes after that, he was flying away from the Vorthak Maximum Security Detention Facility in a appropriated supply shuttle, having left behind a polite note explaining that he had really enjoyed his stay, but had a prior engagement back, on Earth. When Warden Kelthera arrived for her morning inspection, she found the note propped against the nutrient dispenser in cell Omega-7. The cell's systems showed no signs of tampering. The security recordings showed no unusual activity. The quantum locks remained fully functional. According to every measurement their technology could provide, Marcus Chen was still in his cell. But the cell was empty. How? Kelthera whispered, staring at the impossible absence. The answer arrived 3 standard days later in the form of a message from the Galactic Council's diplomatic corps. The human government was filing a formal complaint about the detention of Marcus Chen, who had apparently been conducting authorized first contact surveys under a treaty that the Vorthak had forgotten to update in their databases. The diplomatic immunity paperwork was properly filed and legally binding. Furthermore, Mr. Chen wished to convey his appreciation for the hospitality, and to inform Warden Kelthera that her facility's security systems would benefit from a review of their maintenance protocols. He had taken the liberty of including a detailed analysis of the vulnerabilities he had discovered, along with recommendations for improvements. The message concluded with a cheerful note. The breakfast was adequate, though I did miss my morning coffee. Perhaps we could arrange better beverage options for future guests? Kelthera never publicly acknowledged how Marcus had escaped. The official report stated that the prisoner had been released due to diplomatic immunity. But privately, she implemented every single one of his security recommendations. The Vorthak Maximum Security Detention Facility had never lost a prisoner in its 3,000-year history. Technically, that record remained intact. After all, Marcus Chen had simply walked out before breakfast, and according to the paperwork, he had never been a prisoner at all.